Alright guys, I'm going to go ahead and stream on Discord. If you want to kind of watch this now or later, kind of up to you. What I'm going to bring in, what I hope to bring in, is Google authentication into our app. And this Google authentication will be using BetterAuth dependency that we've brought into this class already, but we just have not implemented a social provider. And so we're going to implement Google as our social provider. And so I'm going to continue working on this Lawn Connect MERN app. As you guys know, the repo for it. So I will stream it. Give you guys the URL for the stream if you want to follow along with that, or if you want to follow along live, let me just share my screen on Discord. Definitely going to be a little bit of troubleshooting as we go through this. I've implemented Google OAuth before, not using BetterAuth, but this is the first time trying it with BetterAuth. And so kind of the first step for this is you need some authentication configuration within Google. And so you need to basically, as a developer, you need, a secret, an auth secret that Google will give you. And so you need to start, well, I like to start on the Google Cloud Console. If you're going to enable this is the only way I know to do it. You have to basically get some variables from Google. And the way to do this is kind of, as you can see here, I do a search for auth. And Google Auth platform. I guess we could just hit the Google Auth platform. And again, this is how we're going to create what's... My phone's listening. Hush up, phone. So we're going to configure this to enable this in our MERN stack app. So let's get started. Now, we've already been deploying to G Cloud, so we already have a project on our Cloud Console, and so this is already something that my class has been doing. So if you go to console.cloud.com, you should see your project and follow those steps. Because I'm logged in with my Gmail, I see my Gmail is the option for my email. This is going to be open external. These email addresses, I'll give it my work email. And I agree. Okay. And we go to clients, so we kind of get those initial configuration steps out of the way. I believe we go to clients, create a client. This is a web app. Lawn Connect OAuth. So the redirect URI and the origins. So as I kind of look here, mine is running on localhost 8080. So this is on localhost. if you use a port other than 80. Now, I will probably come back here and need to add in the live URL, but localhost 8080 is for development. And users will be redirected to this path after they have authenticated with Google. The path will be appended with the authorization code for access and must have a protocol. It can't contain URL fragments, relative paths, or wildcards, and can't be a public IP address. So essentially, where after I authenticate, I take my users there, and whether that URL, I'm going to have to troubleshoot this, whether it's like just /dashboard or the full path, I don't remember, but I'm going to give it the full path. Users will be redirected to this path after they have authenticated with Google. I'm going to give it the full path. It doesn't say anything about a partial path. The path will be appended with the authorization code for access and must have a protocol. It must have a protocol, so HTTP. Good. It can't contain fragments. Okay. So I think that's what the settings are for now. And what it's going to do is it's going to end up giving me a secret. I'm going to click create. I'm going to pull this off the live stream because it gave me a client ID and it gave me a secret, and that's private information. I don't want shared out there. So the next step is to take that client ID and that secret and configure it in my .env. So I need that. Let me open up OAuth now. So my class has configured local email and password sign-ins. So we used a dependency called OAuth to bring in email and password, and we have that working. Now we're bringing in social. And so we got a OAuth URL, trusted origins, email and password. Here's where we're going to add to OAuth social providers. And Google is what we're working on with a client ID that comes from our .env and our secret. Throw in a comma where that belongs. Okay, so now I have to create these environment variables in the .env file. So I need the client secret and the client ID, and these are all caps. So I'm going to, again, off screen, copy and paste and create those variables. My client ID equals, and then my client secret equals, and copy the client ID, paste, copy the secret, paste. Okay. So now I've saved those two variables into those values into their variables. Okay. So now I can bring this back, minimize that, There's the front end of what we're going to be interacting with. Okay. Now, part of, if I kind of backtrack a little bit, part of our express endpoints that we've created where we can sign up a new email, we can sign in an email, we can log out with an email. So this one middleware call generates a bunch of handlers for us, including a post we're going to post to /API/auth sign in social. So this line created the endpoint for us. If you've ever made an account with Google, you probably know it's kind of a little pop-up window that you have to allow permissions to. And so it's built into the browser. So the next thought is, well, can we use Postman to test the endpoint? And the answer there is no. We have to use a browser because it's a pop-up window that kind of operates inside of a browser. So we can't really, fake it with Postman. We need to just jump right into the browser. And so in my React app, which I have is this front end folder, I went ahead and brought in a little Google button. So we got a little divider here that will allow us to say, hey, sign in with one thing or another. And then here's our Google sign in button. So if I bring up the front end, this is what it looks like. There's our divider. So we have a top button to sign in with email or a sign in with Google. So you can see this is just a little bit of styling there. This button calls a function called handle Google sign in, which is written on line 29. So it's an asynchronous function that we're going to use. And then we just have a button of which it uses an SVG graphic for, this is just a Google icon. So this button, kind of all the button attributes and some styling for the button. And then what you see on it is kind of the Google logo. So to kind of show the endpoint of what that looks like, that's what that SVG image will display. So we import the auth client, and now we're able to look at this handle Google sign-in function. You can see that our sign-in endpoint is API auth sign-in social, which I kind of highlighted here. You click the button, it's going to hit that endpoint. And then it's going to redirect the user when it's successful to /dashboard. So that's the intent. So that's the path the user should go after it logs in. It's always kind of funny if you've ever registered with an account, because the register process is the same as the sign-in process. Like, all you have to do is, if you give permissions, you both create an account and log in at the same time with these Google accounts. And so that's essentially when we're signing in, it will effectively create the account for us. And I'm sure you guys have seen that on different websites. It's like instead of a two-part process, which you're kind of accustomed to, the default way this should work, if it does work when we get it to work, is a single step process. So then here, these are just variables. We create an object with a provider and a callback URL of /dashboard. This is a React thing where you can kind of see a spinner. If it's loading and it's running slow, you see a spinner instead of not knowing what's going on. So there's just a hook here that'll give some visual cues that it's kind of working. And that's all that set a Google loading to true does. And then we actually call using the fetch API. We call the sign-in endpoint. We say it's a post, application JSON, and we send the request body over, which is just, again, those two variables in an object. So this fetch is essentially calling our back-end endpoint. So this is kind of, this is the full stack. Your front end is fetching an endpoint on the back end and saving it in a response. If that response has a redirected attribute, this is that little window that you'll see, that little pop-up window that you'll see that you'll approve. And then down here, no matter if it is successful or it fails, we set the is Google loading to false. So try catch finally. The finally block will run no matter if an exception is thrown or not. Okay, so this is the general setup. Again, I don't expect it to work. There's always a little bug to test. Let's open the console. Okay, no console errors. And okay. Well, that's good. It's good that it kind of got us there. Called self warning uses. Whoa. Okay. So this to me says it might be on my Google setting. You can't sign in because it sent an invalid request. Redirect URI mismatch. So the redirect URI, I thought that might be the case where this might just end up need to be /dashboard. But this is the variable /dashboard. Redirect URI mismatch. Well, it's pretty touchy because if I even get rid of the HTTP, it doesn't like that doesn't have the protocol. So again, if I do /dashboard, and I think it is HTTP because I'm not running on HTTPS, 8080. Okay. I've looked at it. I'm not seeing it. Let's do this. Let's ask a little chat. Let's hit new. For my students, if it ever does a lot more than you want it to, and it's doing this agent mode, switch it to ask, and then it'll stop like putting like forcing code into your editor. So let's tell this what's going on. So I have the authorized JavaScript origins. I have an error. The authorized JavaScript origins on Google Auth config are, so let's give it all the details, localhost, and the redirect URIs are dashboard. However, when I click to log in with Google, I get this error in the window. I know I'm pretty close, but there's something just a hair off. Now, I don't want Azure, just give me GPT. Rerun without, there we go. You have all these different agents that can answer. I'm kind of curious what response URL is here. So one thing I'm just going to do is console log response URL. Let me just cancel that, rebuild it. Oh, my front end runs on another port. Haha, that's what it is, typically. Authorized redirect URIs. Add the backend OAuth call endpoint, not your SPA route for most Node Express. Do not use dashboard. Dashboard is where your app navigates after auth, not where Google sends the auth code. Oh. Okay. Authorize redirect URIs. So that has to be, let's close. That makes sense to me. This has to be here. Now, that might be it. Do not use dashboard here. And I think that makes sense. This is like where you have to send, when you click the button, it has to redirect here. Let's see, it may take 5 minutes to a few hours. Uh-oh. For settings to take effect. Well, that's going to be a challenge. If it takes a few hours, I don't love that. Let's close. And that might be because of that setting. Let's just do this one more time. Okay. I'm not sure. So does authorize redirect setting on Google need to be, I'm pretty sure that's what it's told me, but then getting a different error message when I do that. I might yes, your redirect must be the endpoint. If you're using BetterAuth defaults, use that. If your backend uses a different path, callback URL. Do I need to change line 36? I get confused because there's like different no, callback URL on your front end is your post login. Keep it pointing to your app. The Google authorized URI. That's fine, we can do that. Verify the redirect URI sent to Google and the pop-up matches. Checklist. Go to console, authorize redirect URIs to that, which is what we have. Callback Google. Authorized JavaScript origins, localhost 8080. We got that. Verify the redirect URI sent to Google and the pop-up matches the registered callback exactly. Maybe it just was taking a minute. I don't know. I got a good feeling it's just a setting. It's just taking 5 minutes to 5 hours or whatever it said. Because it appears this is correctly configured. Looks like your backend returns JSON with the Google Auth URL instead of issuing a 302. Update the front end to read the JSON and navigate. So, we'll give it a shot. npm run build 302 redirect, and so it didn't do the redirect, it just sent back JSON. Okay. Hey, there we go. There we go. There we go. Yay. Now, there is no slash dashboard. Obviously there's that. The next question becomes this. In my Mongo Compass, we should see here is my Google authenticated user account, evangudmestead@gmail.com. This does come with an email verified. My Gmail image. All these sessions, which should be expiring at some point. Now that's all good. So the problem was a little bit how I was handling it. So this is kind of the new way of redirecting my user to that endpoint. So mission accomplished. That's good news. Learning things to take away from this. I would say this is a hard requirement. With this is where your app goes when you click the Google button. So when it's a redirect URI, I got that confused with after Google has approved the account, where do they go after that? That was incorrect. That's why I was trying to send them to dashboard here. But basically, this is where your app sends it to Google for that confirmation page. Now the next kind of question becomes, okay, this is a new collection verification. But this user, which is created by email and password, has a role array. And how do you get that role array on your Gmail accounts? Which is probably the next step. But I just wanted to get here. I just wanted to get to the point where you could authenticate with Google. And if I close it down, close that down, open it back up, sign in with Google. Pretty standard what you guys would see just to get through. So very cool. Hope you could bear with me, because if you could bear with me, you can get this working. bear through my troubleshooting with